Today, I'm gonna give you 5 tips to create fantastic and realistic renderings using Rhino's engine. Let's get started. In today's video, I'm gonna give you my 5 tips or my 5-step method in how I create more realistic jewelry renderings using Rhino's native rendering engine. Tip number 1, do not use the original design. Instead, we're gonna export the models or the parts that we're gonna use in the scene because we're gonna create bigger cutters and we're gonna use bigger stones for the rendering. So here I have the original design and we're only gonna use different kind of cutters, so I don't need this either. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab one of my original pieces and I'm gonna export this into a different scene. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my ring first. And well, I can grab just everything and export it because I'm gonna use new cutters, okay? So here I have my scene. I'm gonna import all my files that I'm gonna need, and here I have them. As you can see, what you didn't see is that I grabbed each stone and I made them bigger than the usual. So it looks like the stones are closer to each other, and that's basically the only change I made. Now I'm gonna create the cutters for this model, and I'm gonna make them bigger than the way I would use them for manufacturing. Okay, so let me start with the matching band, and we're gonna create the cutters for this model, which I already have. So I have my U cutters and the middle channel, and also have my my division cutter separately. As you can see, and I have them separately. Tip number 2 is choose carefully which cutters you're going to use first, because you want to have some areas smooth and some areas need to look sharp. Let's grab the U cuts and the middle channel, which I have them separated, and I'm gonna grab the piece and let's do Boolean difference. I'm gonna select that one and I'm gonna cut the other side. There, it's cut. Now we're gonna do the middle channel, and that's gonna be this middle surface right here. So let me grab that one, Boolean difference. I'm gonna select that one and this one. That should be good. I'll look at the prompt con. Okay, creating. All right, cut it. I'm gonna select that one and I'm gonna select this side. Turn off the layer. Once the cuts are done, so I'm gonna select both pieces and I'm gonna extract a mesh out of it. All you have to do is type in mesh and it's gonna ask you the density. You don't have to go this high, but for this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave it at there. Let me change it to 2. This one as well, I'm gonna change it to 2. And this one as well, I'm gonna change it to 2. Hit enter and it's gonna extract the mesh out of it. And it's gonna look something like this. As you can see, if I go in my display mode and I turn on mesh wires, it shows you that I have a mesh. All right, let's turn off the stones and let's separate, let's just hide this model. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to make it smooth. First, I'm gonna take out the mesh wires because I like this look better. All right, let's just hide that one as well. Okay, so what you do is you're gonna go to mesh tools and you're gonna type in this command right here, which it's called well mesh vertices. And once you click on it, it's gonna tell you select the model. What I do, I select everything and it's gonna select all the control points. Usually this is the best way that it works, and I'm just gonna hit enter. And if you look at it, it's kind of smooth in some areas, but this helps you create a better look out of this piece. So now the other command I'm gonna use is gonna be smooth, and you can find it right here under create transform, and it's this button right here, or just type smooth, select the piece first, smooth, you click on it and it's gonna give you options. Usually I don't change it, I just click OK. And if you look, it's kind of all the edges have been smoothened. I'm gonna hit it again. Okay, and it makes a little bit more. Do it a few times just to create a little bit more of a finished look. It doesn't look that bad, it looks great. So let me do it one more time and one more time. So do it a couple of times for both models to get a very nice look. Now remember, don't cut it all, just cut the U and the middle channel. Now let's use the middle cutters on the model to make that finished look. So there they are. And another thing I'm gonna recommend you is the cutters for the stone. You're gonna make them also slightly bigger than the stone. If you can see, they're a little bit bigger and they actually mirror the stone. Let me zoom in. If you can see, The cutter for the stone is slightly bigger and taller. There's no metal touching the stone, and that helps you to bring out the reflection on the stone, because Rhino has a different way of rendering things. So this is the best way that I can get a better look, or at least my stone to look a little bit more white or more of the color that I'm trying to render. So now let's cut it. I'm gonna select this one, but I'm not gonna use Boolean difference. I'm gonna go to my mesh tools and I'm gonna use mesh Boolean difference. I'm gonna click there, delete output. Now I don't want to delete it. And I'm gonna cut the middle channel on that one. And I'm gonna cut the stone. If I turn them off, and I'm gonna turn on my stones, let me erase this one or hide it. You want this look. You want those cutouts on your stone, and now the cutout for the division on the prongs, it looks a little bit more realistic. You can play with it and you can make it very, very realistic. But for this tutorial, I'm just gonna leave it there. So if you see, there's no metal touching the stone. It's just like if it was said. So I'm trying to get it as accurate as real life. Once you have this, another thing you can use, you can put your stamps in it after you remesh everything. And that's gonna help it to also look a little bit more realistic. But it's up to you. You can either smooth with the stamp on or after everything is done. Now I'm gonna give you another tip, and let's open the matching band that is gonna go with this. Another thing that I do, let's say with engraving, it's that I extract, I'm gonna hold Control and Shift, and I extract all these surfaces because I wanna have them separately, because I wanna apply a different material to those to make them stand out. Especially, I like the black look, so when I make the rendering, they can see the entire font. Sometimes it doesn't come out very good on the rendering, but also when I make the pieces, sometimes I apply a little bit of black rhodium, or I apply a little bit of paint on the engravings just to make them pop out. Tip number 3, create a backdrop for the model and start positioning the model or the models for a good presentation. You might want to save different positions for different types of renderings. So in this model that I already have here, as you can see, we're gonna create a cool backdrop. The easiest way that I do it is I create a surface from 3 or 4 points, and I just copy my square. And once I have that, all I do is I'm gonna create a bigger square. I'm gonna put it exactly in the position that I want it. I want it to be maybe around here, not completely touching. Let's go in here and probably leave it around there. All right, that's really cool. And I'm gonna bend it. So I'm gonna use the bend tool, and let's go around here, and I'm just gonna bend it right here. And that's actually pretty cool. Right there, I think it's pretty good. You can make it as big as you want or even wider. And you're gonna have this cool look. Okay, let's put it up a little bit. Let's go back in here, and that's too much. And we're gonna put it around here. Control M, and that's actually pretty good. Now let's change the layer, put it right here. Okay, that is pretty good. Tip number 4 is apply the materials as they are, do not tweak them. Make your composition, and then you're gonna tweak the environment and your materials. So I'm gonna lock my backdrop just for a second. I can turn it off if I need to, but let's just leave it there, okay? So what I do is I go here where it says materials, and this is where I create them. So I'm gonna start really quick with metal, and I'm gonna use here. Let's just start with, these pieces are gonna be platinum. So I'm just gonna grab them as they are. To speed this process, I like to have different layers, and I just like to turn off the ones I'm not going to use. I can take everything out, maybe this one because it's the inside, and maybe the backdrop. So if I need this to be all one material, I can just select everything, go to my material, and assign to this object. Now you can also turn on render view, and you can see it's now being selected to that. Let's now turn on our backdrop. It doesn't have a material yet, so let's go to material, and we're going to apply a new material, and I'm just gonna use plaster. So once I have plaster, let's just leave it there. I'm gonna select my backdrop and assign to that object. Let me go now to my layers and just lock it. So every time I click on the background, it doesn't actually lose my position. And let's just leave it there just to see. Okay, so now since I have those, I'm gonna start applying the materials to the stones. So another way to apply the materials is that you can go in gems and you're gonna put assign to layers. And now it's gonna let you select what layers you wanna use. I wanna use block, center, the stones in the band and the stones in the matching band. And I'm gonna click OK. And sometimes with grasshopper gold stones, you need to select the block that is attached to the stones. For some reason, it's also like matrix. So that is the easiest way to assign your stones. Let me assign a material to the stamp. So I'm gonna have them there. And I'm gonna go materials. I'm gonna put a new material. Let's go to, let's say same. Let's use plastic. And I'm gonna go with the color dark gray. Put OK. I'm gonna right click on it and assign to a layer. And I know it's this one and I'm gonna put OK. So now it's got that look. All right, we're just gonna leave it there. Now let's turn on our band, which is this one. It's better if you just label it. You know what? Let's do that. Let's put men's band. Let's put engagement ring, matching band. And this one, it's the engraving. So if I turn it on, you can see it turns a little bit darker. For the environment, you can go in this tab right here where it says rendering, and you can start changing your materials here. And usually the way I do it is I like to click on this 360 environment. Right now it's on studio. You can leave it there, but what I like to use is create a new environment. So I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna use import from library. So let's start with that, and you can have many on your libraries. You can download more, but I'm gonna start with Gem Studio. I'm gonna put open. Also in this tab where it says use custom environment for reflection, also you can change that. Usually there, I like to leave it also as Gem Studio, and I'm gonna click in there. Or I can use a different one, import a different environment. I'm gonna go Gem Studio and I'm gonna put that. Now, both are the same and that's okay. Now let's go into lighting. Lighting, also you wanna use custom environment for skyline. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna add a new environment. And this one, I'm gonna import from a different one. You can use many of them here and you can combine all of them. Let's just go Met Balcony NYC. Okay, let's go open. And now it's got this look. Now for the Gem Studio, the environment, let's change this one just to studio. Let's see how that affects the piece. Now let's check real quick what our scene looks like. You can press render down here in the corner, or you can press this button right here on the standard. It says render, and right here is also render. So let's run it from here. Let's see how our scene looks. Okay, not too bad. Now tip number 5 is tweak the environment and the materials to start creating your scene. Do the test run first so you can see what it looks like. Get a good position of what your final render you want to be, and then improve on that area. So let's start tweaking the materials. Here's our scene, and I'm just gonna delete that because I already know what that looks like. I'm gonna put okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go into my materials, and in metal, what I wanna do is I wanna leave it a little bit more rough, okay? The one thing I'm gonna change because I don't really like is the gems. So on gems, what I'm gonna do, since it's already in diamond, I wanna tweak it a little bit. And one of the things that I kinda like what it does is I go to gems and I change it to glass. And if you can see right here where it says IOR, it has a number. I like to tweak it like around 10 to 153, or where are we? Let's do 258. And I'm gonna start rendering the piece to see what's the best look on the stones that I like. Also, what was gonna change? The plaster. If you changed your background, let's go with a little bit of light gray. And I'm gonna do a quick run just to see what it looks like. As you can see, the stones look a little bit better, but I'm gonna change the material of the stamp because it's not really coming through. Let's go into our plastic, and that one I'm gonna go black, completely black. Press OK, and let's run a test. So now the stamp looks better, and I kind of like the way that the stones look. I'm not so sure about the backdrop. So let's go back to just a white backdrop, and let's just go completely white. Let's see what that does. Render. See, that comes out a little bit better. It might be a little too much, but in the rendering, it just looks a little bit better. I think plastic look a little bit more realistic, but this way, this would cut through and it would look better in the pictures. And I like that white background now. Now, all I'm gonna do now is just change the environment, the positioning of the lights, because if you can see in this area here, I can still see those lights, and I don't think these stones are light. The light on them is proper for this scene. So let's go in here and let's change the environment. And for that, I like to have this tab here of environment. If you don't have it, all you have to do is go here in options. You're gonna click on it, and it's gonna give you all these options here on the side. Let me see, let me take out my camera because you can't see it. So what you do is you go here in this toolbar, or it says options, you click on it. And right here, you put display environments. So this is where I turn it on. And I have my materials and everything else that I'm using. I just turn it on here. So there we are. Let's turn out the camera. Okay, so once I have this, now I can tweak my materials. So if I go into the Gem Studio and I tweak the rotation of it, it's gonna affect the way it works. Also, I can put the intensity down or the intensity up a little bit darker. Just gonna leave it at 0 for now. We're gonna go into the Gem Studio. We're gonna tweak the lights a little bit there. I'm gonna put it a little bit brighter, and we're gonna go to my NYC. Let's see. Okay, this one's the one's affecting the most. So let's see what happens if I put up here and I put the intensity up a little bit. Let's run a test. Render. Didn't change much, but I like the way this scene looks now. Maybe with a less white background, it'd be better, but I kind of like the way now these stones are cutting through here. So let me tweak a little bit more. Let me go a little bit more on this side. Let me go on this side to see what would that change on my scene. Let's put render. Okay, now the stones look a lot better from the way I had it before. And I think I am gonna go back to a different color for the engraving to make it a little bit more realistic. Let me go in here and go to my materials. Instead of plaster, I'm gonna use plastic. Reflectivity, let's use less reflective and just leave it there. Let's do a test run, render. See, that looks better. It looks like it's actually engraved or laser engraved. And I do like the way the stones look now. I like changing the environment because right here they don't look so dark and they all look even. I even like the way this is reflecting the light. I think I'm pretty happy with it. Now what I can do is I can move it around a little bit, and let me do a quick run. And that's all you have to be doing. Just move it, test it, change the environment, test it a little bit. And that helps you to, get used to it. And once you're happy with it, you can just hit render and it should be perfect. See, now it has this look in the stones and I really like that. I can change the material a little bit more lighter. Let's try, what are we using? Color, we're using stainless steel. Let's use silver. Let's see what that looks like and hit render. See, you just have to play with the materials to get the best look that you like. I think I like this one because it brings a little bit more separation from the stones and the rings. You can see the prongs, the U prongs. You can see the engraving on the piece. And also the reflection is not too hard. Even though this is not the full resolution of the piece, I think I like this already. Once you're happy with the scene, now we're gonna use the final render, which we're gonna close this and we're gonna go into render and we're gonna up the resolution. So the first thing I like to do, because I'm gonna post this on Instagram, I'm gonna go 800 by 600. And on draft quality, I'm gonna change it to good quality. And this is gonna take longer, but it's gonna give me a better resolution to post in social media. Let's just hit render and you'll see the big difference. Now you can see down here the passes it's doing. It's 500 passes. We're doing 50. So right now that's actually going pretty fast. I have a pretty good GPU on my computer and my CPU is pretty good. It's a 16 core 32 thread AMD processor, and my video card is an NVIDIA 2080 Ti. Boom, there it is. This could be your final render, but we're gonna push it a little bit more and we're gonna add some effects that Rhino has that I love about creating my final scene. So we're gonna go right here where it says post effects. It's right here on your Rhino area, on your rendering area. And one of my favorite effects is bloom. We're just gonna hit bloom and we're gonna add it. And you're gonna click this button right here. And also, before I do that, I'm gonna add depth of field. So let's go on bloom and turn it on. It's making this hazy look, so you might wanna change that a little bit. It's a little too much for my taste. Okay, that's not the way I wanted to go. Radius, see, that's a little too much. Well, that's 0, you don't want that either. And the intensity, let's go down or let's go up. And now I'm gonna add depth of field. It's gonna look blurry. So what are you going to do? You're gonna click on depth of field and you're gonna select with this button here where you want the camera to focus. That way it blurs the rest of the scene. So I'm gonna hit click here and I'm gonna click right on the center of the center stone or like on the corner. If you can see now, everything is being blurred out and that gives you a sense of more realism. I like it. Some people don't, but for me, I think I like this for a post or for anything else. You can tweak now as you see the scene, but another way to make it a little bit darker and not to look so bright, we're gonna go to final pass. And right here, sometimes what I do is I just play with the gamma. If I go down to 1.8, it kind of makes the piece stand out a little bit. If I go to 1.5, that's a little too dark. And if I go to 1, that is really dark. That's not the way that I like it. Maybe 1.8 is perfect. See, right there, I already like it. The way you save your scene, you can go in here and save the post effects as a document. You can go in here and just save it. Or when you're gonna exit your rendering, it's gonna ask you if you wanna save those settings. Just put yes. And this way you can save this scene every time you open it. Another way that I would like to recommend you to use this is go to your perspective and delete all the materials that you have there and save this scene separately. Or what I can do now is, even though with those materials that I have in there, I can go and save as or export, but I'm gonna put save it as a different. I'm gonna go to my desktop and I'm gonna call it my rendering scene. That way, every time I open it and I need to do a rendering, I can do it directly from here and just import my files into the scene. I think that'll be the most consistent way to get your scenes to look the same. These are my 5 tips for creating amazing and more realistic renderings in Rhino 3D. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you hit the bell icon, YouTube will let you know every time we have new tutorials. For advanced training and consulting, my contact information is in the description below. You can go on my Instagram, Facebook, my email, all that jazz. Friends, have a beautiful and blessed rest of your day. I will see you in the next one. Ciao.